Presentation. Thank you very much. Now we're going to go from trying to ensure certainty to managing uncertainty.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Thank you to Northern Gritstone for the opportunity and to the team at DeepTed Labs for their support and patience. So 4Extra. 4Extra is a company that has been in the research of science of catastrophic risk for 15 years. And in essence, we've studied extreme scenarios, but we prefer to call them shock events. We love volatility and we love shock events. Why? Because shock events are happening all around us all the time. They're happening with increasing frequency. The speed of the shock events at geopolitical, macroeconomic level are happening fast. And we all know what's happened recently in terms of the US tariffs creating such a shock event it did, where capital flew between different asset classes very, very quickly in the space of 48 hours in this case. Now, the thing that was challenging about this was we're dealing with a very sophisticated market of economists, quants teams and so on. And as you can see from the quotes here, a lot of them realized that they weren't equipped to actually deal with this shock event. Now, really, if you were to read between the lines of all of this, they felt like they were flying blind. And this is part of the real problem in the marketplace. So for all of these types of players in their different sectors, different sizes, they all suffer from traditional risk and investment models that fall short in accurately simulating the impact of these shock events in real time. And there are reasons for this. The first is, of course, they have slow end-to-end processes within their organizations. They have blind spots where the true risk drivers may not be evident at the time, particularly in a fast-paced environment. They have regulatory pressure where statutory regulators particularly demand that evidence-based stress testing on the decisions they're making in the time that they're making it. And the drive for digitalization is actually compounding this further, particularly for alternative assets in a 24/7 market, where that kind of macroeconomic impact is happening so fast. And so asset managers are missing out actually on billions of dollars of opportunities from these events, where their playbook strategies are not quick enough. Their risk-adjusted pricing doesn't move to the extremes that it needs to during these type of events. And this is particularly important in a market that is growing significantly over the next few years, up to $30 trillion of asset under management. So we have a solution for this. We want to empower every decision maker in this marketplace to better anticipate the impacts of these macro level shocks and react immediately. We do this by helping with fast decision making in minutes and hours, not weeks or months. We can help amplify the returns, particularly by identifying those trip hazards of unidentified and unknown risk drivers. And we can help with actually being able to demonstrate the stress testing of actual shock events, particularly to internal and regulatory demands. And most importantly, if you're a mid to small business, we give you the ability to actually be able to act like you have a large analytics function. And if you're a large firm, we help accelerate your ability to be able to simulate multiple outcomes to these shock events and really make sure that you nail down your stress testing. So here's the product. As you'll see here, you can start with natural language. You can literally input, in this case, US trade tariffs. That's submitted into the platform where all of the clever stuff is happening in between, including validating what the actual risk drivers are. And then we synthesize the shock macroeconomic drivers. So we've shocked these events happening. From this point, this goes into the simulation engine. And from here, we generate the market trajectories and all of the varied outcomes that can happen across different assets. Now, you might actually note that from the S&P 500 and the gold, we actually got two of those trajectories right to actually what happened in the market. It's a crying shame because if we realised this at the time, we wouldn't be here raising money. So, but we are. We'll know next time. What makes us unique is a number of things, but things I want to point out is, first of all, this is patented technologies, because of all of the research that has actually been done. But most importantly, it's actually what the platform is capable of doing in a matter of minutes between putting in a natural language type of query and then being able to ultimately output in some very complex and simulated trajectories. On top of that, the shock synthetic data engine itself actually has had proven viability around the accuracy of the shock level data it produces, and actually opens up the validation of that to end users for stress testing. And as an exec team, and we've got two here, the other two guys here today who will come and join for Q&A, Janos and Lukas. Between the three of us, we have a blend of experience between the science, the technology, and the commercialization and venture building. So what's our growth plans? First off, our initial target market is mid-market, brokers, private banks, family offices, and so on. Why? Because they're the ones that actually really need our technology in their hands, and they need it fast. And predominantly focused in the UK and Swiss marketplaces. We're also looking to integrate with platform partners because we see our technology also becoming part of other people's offerings out to market. The second is that we then want to expand this across US and EMEA marketplaces, particularly the likes of Dubai, Singapore, and so on, as we grow out across those asset managers and also elevate ourselves up into enterprise level deals. And then finally, we want to expand beyond that again into actually new and further asset classes such as in insurance, risk and real estate. In our first year, we'll be looking to land those pilot deals. But as we hit 2027, our year runs June to July, by the way. As we hit 2027, we will be accelerating our annual recurring revenue up to over $100 million in 5 years. So we're looking to raise some money. £3.5 million for Q4. That will be spent in a pilot stage. As you can see, the market traction that we have. And we're looking to solidify that, land those early deals. And we also wish to build out a sector expertise advisory board. Then we'll be looking to take this and productize even further, taking all of those learnings and investing that, particularly into the front end of our product, to really make sure we hit that engagement and that accessibility as best as possible. And finally, from a commercialization, we'll be expanding our operations and our team with a focus of starting around technology, machine learning operations, followed by marketing and business development. We are a company that has a vision and a technology that can travel. And our ultimate goal is to get on to a Series A funding and beyond, where we can explore even different industries. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So now let's move to Q&A. If there are any questions in the audience or online. Yeah, Ambrose, if you're online.
Yeah, thanks. Question from the online audience. How do you know this works?
Well, we go back to the bit in the presentation. We did actually, it's hard to see on the screen here, but the S&P 500 and the gold trajectories, anybody's welcome to come and take a look afterwards. You can actually see the trajectories of actually what happened in those marketplaces. And that was based on simulations we did.
And also maybe just to add that we've got very rigorous testing procedures and back testing procedures. And as Ben mentioned, basically we've got the large language model layer and we've got the mathematical layer, right? And we apply back testing on each and every layer so we can demonstrate mathematically that this model works.
Excellent. Thank you. I think we've got a question. Oh, we've got one there and there's one behind you, Will.
Hi, yeah, sorry, I couldn't see the horizontal axis on that S&P example you gave, but presumably the prediction is not as good for very short-term events, just because I imagine when you have a shock event, you have algorithms that are already in the market that maybe compound the effect. So I'm just wondering, what was the time frame? What is the time frame in which you think you have the best prediction?
So the way we build the engine is actually time frame agnostic. The example that's shown there is actually month. So the query was asking for the sort of shock prediction 1 month ahead. So that was, I believe, from March till April. But in principle, it's agnostic. So you can start asking querying questions without week, half year, year period. We're not experimenting with the high frequency daily things, but in principle, they can be explored and further built out.
Okay, I think you were first to get your hand up, I think back here, and then unfortunately we're going to have to, that'll be the last question, but do come catch up afterwards with these guys. They'll be outside.
Yeah, just wondering how you're making money for this. Why let others subscribe to the system when you can just trade using it off your own account and presumably make more money?
Go ahead.
I get a concrete example, right? So it's like we mentioned the Swiss private bank, and I talked to a partner actually, and he told me that Saturday morning there is a big event, right? I'm reading on Twitter or in the newspapers, right? And I'm flying blind. I don't know what's the impact on the portfolio, number one. And as a board member, actually, we've got business people in the room. We've got one single chief investment officer, and we don't have the tools to challenge this individual. And with this, he told me, online, in a boardroom, I can, for example, immediately challenge and also come up with alternatives, right? That's number one. And number two, the institutions, more the brokerage businesses, that, I mean, there is a standard phenomenon, right, that we are going through digitalization. More and more assets getting digital 24/7, and this technology can help them actually to calculate better if there is a derivative business on that, the appropriate margin level, and estimate the risk better.
Thank you very much.
Another answer I would also add is that, yes, it is something that we could look at doing ourselves, but actually put it in the hands of others and be part of what they're doing. And we've just opened up ourselves to a whole world making money.
So would you look to gain a percentage of the returns that they make trade using your system?
It's part of the pricing strategy. So there's a licensing aspect to this, as you would consider. However, in a number of conversations, the contingency-based pricing could be part of it.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. So what do we like about 4Extra? Well, we see more and more of these shock events happening. We saw tariffs, we've seen the Air India flight going down. There's constant stream of these shock events. And these mid-levels of mid to small asset managers just don't have the quants and the ability to be able to model out these scenarios. And so we think that this is really interesting way to be able to provide the tools that they need to allow them to make a lot more money, to be able to respond quickly, and that there's real value in that they will create value that then will be